Hello, this is Robert Messina, and I was prompted with this particular video because I was looking at Revelation 17, verse 16. I'll read it. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, which was the 7-head, 10-horned red dragon, these shall hate the whore. And the whore is mystery woman Babylon, the mother of harlots, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. I was trying to figure out where this is coming from, and one of the things that led me was Daniel 11:37, when he says, "Neither shall he," and talking about Antichrist the man, "regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women." Okay? The desire of women. How come he doesn't like the desire of women? And I think it has to do with the fact that this guy, right? See, this is that Daniel 11:37 is describing the abomination of desolation, his blasphemy, which is going to cause devastation on the entire earth. It's an extreme amount of blasphemy that if those days weren't shortened, no flesh would be saved. So anyway, he's described as has no desire of women, and he has 10 horns that are 10 kings that the whore, the harlot, rides upon. She rides upon the 7-head, 10-horned red dragon beast. Those 10 kings hate the whore. They hate her. Okay, I think they're getting the hatred from their master, who hates women, who has no desire for women, and he even hates the whore. And the whore is mystery woman Babylon that's involved with trade. They hate the whore because he hates the whore. That's number one. Number two, they want to make her desolate and naked and shall eat her flesh. Why? Because they don't want her involved. They don't want her around. They want her gone. Because he wants her gone. And then it says, and burn her with fire. Now, I think first of all, remember this, that these guys are the 10 kings, 10 wicked, probably the most wicked of the group of all of men on earth. These are probably the most wicked because that's why they were selected to be the 10 kings that rule the earth, a part of the dragon. They have a love of money, which is the root of all evil, which is why they are so wicked. What do the kings of the earth do? One of the things they do all the time is fornicate with mystery woman Babylon, the mother of harlots. And if they're not the mother, they fornicate with the daughters. They fornicate. And they do as much abominations as they could. They love abomination. Wicked loves to go, whatever God says, I'll do it another way. He says man should not go with man. That's an abomination. That's what they want to do. That's an example, okay? So what's the burn with fire? Why burn with fire? And I think because they are actually making a sacrifice here. They're making a sacrifice where they won't do those things with mystery woman Babylon. They won't fornicate with mystery woman Babylon or her daughters. They'll have nothing to do with her. And so they're making a burnt sacrifice for that. And their sacrifice is to their new God, who is Antichrist the man, who is declaring himself God, and they are already adjoining themselves, declaring him to be their God, and they are worshiping him, and they are obeying him, and he doesn't like women. He doesn't like the whore Babylon. He knows about her. He doesn't like her, and these guys are sacrificing unto their new God, who is about to declare himself God. that's my take on it. It's just a take. But I can't understand any other reason other than the fact that if it's the purpose to do away with her, burning her flesh, which is her commodities, all her goods. Genesis 6:2-4. That the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. Now there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, that they bare children unto them, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. All right, so I want to introduce to you now a guy by the name of Nimrod, and if we're going to talk about Mystery Woman Babylon, he is instrumental in her city being established. But by the way, I believe at the temptation of Eve, she was there helping Eve succumb to the temptation. She was there promoting the lust of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and bad. And then she was also there with Cain and Abel, and she injected hatred into Cain to kill his brother Abel. And there's evidence of that in the sense that she is responsible for the death of the saints, the death of the prophets, and Jesus is going to hold accountable the Pharisees from the death of Abel to the death of Zechariah, for the prophets that were killed by Pharisee-type people, but they are going to be the ones responsible, even though they weren't around when Zechariah, and they definitely weren't around when Abel was born. But they are going to be responsible, and the only reason I could say to that is they were citizens of Mystery Woman Babylon. Okay? So that's where I'm getting that. So let's go to Genesis 10:6-14. And the sons of Ham were Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan, the one who was cursed. And the sons of Cush now, Sheba, Havilah, Sabta, Ra'amah, Sabteka, and the sons of Ra'amah, Sheba, and Dedan. Okay, so it lists the sons of Cush. And Cush begat Nimrod, and he began to be a mighty one in the earth. Now, do you see Nimrod in the sons of Cush? No, you don't. He's not there. So how could he beget Nimrod? And my guess is that Cush has a daughter, and the reason I brought up to you the sons of God coming to the daughters of men, that they were fair and having children, I think that Nimrod was one of those children that was born like that, and Cush had a daughter, and one of the fallen angels that were giants in those days had a son called Nimrod. All right? That's the reason why okay. And Nimrod began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Now, you see that word before? That word means, another way of saying before is ante. Ante means before. or instead of. But before is one of its meanings for sure. So he was a mighty hunter, anti-Lord. He was anti-Christ. He was against God. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom, this is Nimrod's kingdom, was Babel. The beginning, the very beginning of his kingdom was Babel. And this was before the Tower of Babel. Okay, these sons being born right now within the first generation there, this is before the Tower of Babel. And he is the founder of Babel, and the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. So the land of Shinar is where Babel is erected. Okay, Genesis 11:4-9. And they said, "Go to, let us build a city and a tower whose top may reach up to heaven. And let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth." So they're looking for a name. They're looking for a godly name. They're looking for something that's going to protect them from God, and they don't want to be ruled by God. Is what it is. He is anti-Lord. Yud He Vav He is, you can pronounce Lord there. Yud He Vav He. Okay, he's anti. He's against it. He wants to put himself instead of that. They're looking for a name. And this is going to be fulfilled way from all the way back then till these days, when we're going to have an abomination of desolation, when anti-Lord is going to blaspheme and cause the abomination of desolation. And if the days weren't shortened, we'd all be dead. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, "Behold, the people is one, and they all have one language. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Let us go down, and therefore confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." So the solution is to put a big delay in what they want to do. That blasphemy thing, he put a big delay from. So this was 5,000 years ago, the Tower of Babel. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. They quit. They couldn't do it anymore. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. Now, at that time, the wicked ones amongst them wanted to keep it up with that. They left off to build the city, but they still had it in mind that they wanted to build it. And they have been building it that was in their mind to build it ever since then. And it's coming to fruition these days. In these days. Now. It's about to happen. The abomination of desolation is about to happen. And that's what that would have been. So how did they get around it? How did they begin to... They have sign language. Sign languages help them communicate. They went... The Russian couldn't understand the Greek, but they can communicate with sign language. And eventually... English. You didn't notice English, the British Empire with the Commonwealth all over the place. All of everybody knows English as a second language. So it's gotten to be where the language isn't a problem anymore. Too much. You even have the computer that can translate it for you if you want. It's not a problem anymore. They understand. Everybody understands. The delay is not a delay anymore. It's about to happen. Okay, let's go to Zechariah 5. And he brings out an interesting thing. Then the angel that talked with me went forth and said to me, Lift up now thine eyes and see what is this that goes forth. And I said, What is it? And he said, This is an ephah. That's a bushel. An ephah is a certain size of a bushel for wheat and stuff like that. That goes forth, he said. Moreover, this is their resemblance through all the earth. In other words, there's going to be a certain size for daily bread for all people throughout the whole earth. And the famine, the black horse brings a famine. He's got scales in his hand, and he's saying a measure of wheat for a penny. Now, a penny is Old English for a day's wages. So it's a day's wages for a measure of wheat. Okay? It's a lot of money. In other words, you worked all day, and the only thing you can do with that money is to buy yourself a morsel of bread. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead, and this is a woman that sits in the midst of the ephah. Okay, so now this woman is going to become a wickedness. We're going to see. And he said, This is wickedness. And he cast it into the midst of the ephah, and he cast the weight of the lead upon the mouth thereof. So right now is sitting in this basket a weight of lead, wickedness, and the woman. All right? So then he says, Then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, there came out two women, and the wind was in their wings, for they had wings like the wings of a stork. Now, a stork is an unclean bird. All right? So this is what's carrying them, carrying that ephah and the woman and the lead talent and the wickedness that's in there. And the storks lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heaven. So this is now not up into high heaven, and not touching the earth either. It's in the midst. It's in between. It's a wickedness that is from above, but it's not that high up. Then said I to the angel that talked with me, Whither do these bear the ephah? And he said to me, To build it a house in the land of Shinar, and it shall be established and set there upon her own base. So you see, they're building a house for this wickedness, and it's going to be Babylon. In other words, the Lord existed right from the beginning, but his house wasn't built until Solomon came and was able to build the house for him. But before that, he did dwell in tents, but he wasn't even doing that until the Exodus. Okay? So you see, there is a time for the house of the Lord, and this was the time of the house of the city of Babylon. It had its beginning right there, and its wickedness. Don't forget that. Okay, let's go to Revelation 1 through 14. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. See, so now this is a red, he's a dragon, he's got 7 heads, and so the beast, the leopard beast, is just like him, and he has 10 horns just like him. But there is a difference here, because the 7 heads have 7 crowns. These heads have crowns, all right? And the 10 horns don't have crowns. It's the other way around with the beast of the leopard beast. I call him the leopard beast or the lion beast. But you see, there is a difference. There's a difference in the color, and there's a difference in the body. There is a difference in a few other differences, as you see. And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. Okay, so what do you have left? You have 66% of the angels are now left in heaven to watch the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man child. Okay, as soon as it was born, Herod, as a ruler of Israel at the time, wanted to kill the child as soon as it was born. That was when all the males from 2 years old and under were killed. But the Lord delivered his son and sent him to Egypt, and then he calls his child out of Egypt as a prophecy. So anyway, she brings forth the man child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Okay, now that's the woman in Israel today from 1948. This is her place that she has been living. And there is the days that are counted there are the first half of the 7-year tribulation. Okay? So she's okay for 1,260 days, 60. And she's fed. All right? So let's keep going. That's that. The other half is going to be mentioned as well. The other half of the 7 years. Revelation 12:7-17. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. So this is the war in heaven now, okay? If you ask me when this is taking place, this is taking place with the wrestling that Jesus has to give up his life and win and overcome death. This is the Goliath. He's on Mount Golgotha, which has the word name Goliath in it. And he's defeating death. That Mount Golgotha looks like a skull. Okay? And this is where the fight for death, overcoming death, happens. And it happens in heaven. Michael means what? Mikael? It means Mika, who is as El, God, who is as God. I'm not saying that Michael the Archangel is Jesus, but it could be, and it doesn't matter. It's just a name, and you know for sure that he is the prince that stands up for the people. So if there's another angel called an archangel named Michael, that doesn't bother me. I still think of him as the one who stands up, because he's the one who stood up for him, and he's the one who won the battle. They fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and the dragon's angels. So this is a big thing. This is a big battle that's happening on the day he was crucified, on the night before he was crucified, on the day he was crucified. And they thought they won when they put him in the earth. But they didn't. Because 3 days later, 3 days and 3 nights later, he's alive on that first day of the week, that Sunday morning, when he sees Mary of Magdalene. And that is a very touching, overcoming moment. Okay, so the dragon fought and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out. Because remember with Job, the dragon was, Satan was going before the Lord. This was happening in heaven. Satan was up in heaven. He had his place up there. He doesn't have his place. He's kicked out there. This is where he's kicked out. He doesn't like it. That old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world, he was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God, the power of his Christ. For the accuser, the word devil is accuser, the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him, now that him is the dragon, by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And they loved not their lives unto death. They were willing to die for him, because they didn't care. They had the helmet of salvation, and you have a fatal blow on your head. A fatal blow, which means you die, but you don't die. So they can't hurt you. So nothing can hurt you. You're in his hands. Going into the last 7 years is not going to hurt, because you have that. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knows that his time is but short. And when the dragon saw that he was cast out into the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the child. And to the woman, now this is the second time, this is the second half of the tribulation, 7-year tribulation period that we're going to see right here. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle. They got into their place with jets. LL Airlines brought them all into, I mean, that wasn't the only airline, but they came on jets and boats and planes and trains into their land, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and a half a time from the face of the serpent. So you see that time, times, and a half of a time? That's the 3.5 years on the second part. That's how it's described. In Daniel 7, we'll bring you to that. Daniel 7 describes the beast of the earth that rules in the second half. Okay? And that is another topic, and I can't make this too long. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman. All right, what do I see when I see that? This is going back to the days of, not too long ago, the days of the Holocaust, where the dragon was had no mercy on the people of Israel. So the dragon is going forth and cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman who's having children of Israel, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. Now what happened? The Germans were the ones that were spearheading the Holocaust murdering, and they were defeated, and they all died. The earth opened up, and all of the Germans, the dead Germans, went in the same way the dead Jews went in, and not only Jews, other nationalities went in as well. But what I'm getting at is the earth opened up and it swallowed them in death. And I'm gonna remind you about Germany getting defeated in World War II again when we at another time for another place. So remember this. And it's not like you can remember it. And the earth helped the woman, and earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. Now there's two types. The remnant of her seed is the 144,000, which keep the commandments of God. And there's another piece which says, and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. That's his church. Those are the ones called out of Babylon. All right? The remnant of her seed were called out of Babylon too, but that was a lot earlier. Okay, Daniel 11:36 through 39. And the king shall do according to his will. Now this is now talking about the Antichrist, the man now. And he's a king, and he shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god. This is what they were trying to do back in the days of Babel. And shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods. And shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, I think that he's a descendant of Esau, like Herod was a descendant of Esau. And he could have been an Amalekite and all of those. Those are the really bad ones. Esau's fathers were Isaac and Jacob. Okay? So I think that's what he's talking about. He's not going to regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, and I'm going to get to that. Nor regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces, and a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver, with precious stones and pleasant things. He has two gods. He has the God of forces. I think the God of forces is war, the warfare, the power, the might. And he leans upon that power, and he tries to get as much power over men as possible. All right? So that he could be the boss and they are nothing to him. Anyway, he gives his God of forces, and there's another God who his fathers knew not. And I think that second God that he has is atheism. It's atheism. It's of course it's a strange God, and nobody knows a God that doesn't have a name. And the other thing that he honors very much is nature itself, because he puts a green earth above all. Everybody's got to pay for the green earth. All right? With gold, silver, this guy's filthy rich, and that's what he gives to his earth. We suffer, but we have an earth that he can give to his children, right? Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. He's dividing the land for gain, and that is the land of Israel is divided for his gain, and he's the one that's he's going to be the one to promote and confirm the covenant of 1 week. And once he confirms the covenant of 1 week, he begins the last 7 years. So it's 2 weeks. There's 2 weeks in that verse. There's the covenant that already is a covenant of 1 week, but it needs to be confirmed. And once it's confirmed, he begins the last 7 years of the world. Another week. With all kinds of nice things that he makes sure we suffer with. Okay, Revelation 13, 1 through 9. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. The beast I saw was like unto a leopard. See, it's not red, it's got spots, yellow and black spots. And his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and his great authority. So basically it's like the Father and the Son. And I saw, because the Son looks like his Father, and the leopard and the bear and the mouth of the lion and the 10 horns, they all represent other beasts, the 4 beasts that came before. All right, they were empires in the past, and this is now the final empire. This is the 7th head of the dragon. It's the 7th head of the dragon. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. So that's the first time he's going to mention this deadly wound thing. He's going to mention this head that was wounded with a deadly wound 3 times. This is the first time he says it. All right? Now, I think that was Germany. I think that the United Nations has 5 Security Council members right now, 5 heads, and Germany and Japan, that's my guess, is going to be added before the last 7 years begin. And one of them heads is going to be Germany, and Germany was wiped out. Remember if you saw pictures of Berlin, the capital of Germany there at the time, it was wiped out. And the Allies helped rebuild it. The Allies were in cahoots because the United Nations has 5 heads, and they all they act like they're enemies. They have their differences, but they're all going against the same agenda, who is ruled by the mouth of the lion, that is the ruler man, that does the blasphemy in the middle of the 7 years. And all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power to the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? See, his God is the God of forces, and he's got the whole world in grips because all the nations are serving him with all of their armies. Who can fight against that? And there was given to him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. Does that sound familiar? And power was given unto him to continue 42 months. That brings him up to the middle, the end of the 43rd month. There's peace and safety, and he blasphemes. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life. If your name is written in the book of life, you're not going to be worshiping him. You're going to know who he is. You're going to know, and you're not going to deny your Father or your Master or your Savior. You're not going to deny his name. Neither one of them, their names. You're not going to deny him. And you're going to maintain your name in the book of life, which is the most important thing you could ever do. So you definitely don't want to worship him just because you're going to get something out of it that's going to last for a minute. Written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Foundation of the world, because this was in the mind of God that he was going to save man right from the foundation. He knew what was going to happen, and he does do it, doesn't he? If any man have an ear, let him hear. Okay? So you have an ear, you hear what I'm saying, you hear what these words are saying. Well, that's good. Revelation 13:11-18, and I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a dragon. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. That's the second time he says that. And he doeth great wonders, so that he makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceives them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. That's the third time. And he has power to give life to the image of the beast. This is the second false prophet beast that rules for times dividing of times. This is the second half now. He had power to give life to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Just like in Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when the music was played, they had to bow down to that image, and those 3 guys did not. And it's the same exact thing. This is a They did a prophecy. They were thrown into the fire furnace, and they didn't die. They didn't have smoke on them. They lived. And so God saved them. And it's the same thing. I mean, if he does take his sword, he plays the music, he takes his sword, you don't bow, and he chops your head off, okay, you're still going to live. You're going to be one of the souls under the altar that is given a white robe, and you're going to live forever. And you're going to be glad it's over, and you're going to be glad to see him, to see everybody on the other side of life. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And here is wisdom. Let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Oh, okay, so we're up to Revelation 17:1-11. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials. Now, my guess is that was the 7th angel that had the 7th vial, because the 7th vial speaks of the judgment of the great whore. So with that said, and talk with me, saying unto me, Come hither, and I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sits upon the many waters. Now, many waters represents many tongues, many nations, many peoples. She's a city over the whole earth, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. The kings commit fornication with the great whore. All right? And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. All right? And you don't want to get drunk with that wine. And so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, this is red now, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay, so it's scarlet colored. It's red. It's the red dragon. It's the same color as the red dragon of Revelation 12. So, and the woman was arrayed. So that's who she's sitting on. She's not the dragon. She's only sitting on the dragon. She's only sitting upon something that has 7 heads. And I hear about 7 hills of Rome. Oh, you could put a comment and explain why. You have your opinion. It's not Rome. And Rome is described in Revelation in the second half. It's this in Revelation 13. It's the second beast that takes over, the one that comes out of the land. And that one is Rome. And you can look up Daniel chapter 7, and it describes it. I have a video on it, and that's all I want to say about that. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. So this is the wickedness woman that sits in the basket that's carried up and above over the earth. She's spirit. She's a spiritual woman. She's a spiritual lust, and she's the mother of harlots. So all of her daughters are on earth, and they are just like her, causing men to lust after them and commit fornication with them, and to lead men and women, because the woman that's doing it is also owned by this woman, her mother. She's the mother, and the woman listens to their mother. So the golden cup in her hand is full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Again, stay away from that cup. And upon her forehead is written mystery. This is always written in capital letters. Mystery, Babylon the Great, mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. What are abominations of the earth? Well, when a man lays with a man, that's an abomination. And he has lots of abominations. And all of a sudden, the wickedness of this world, what are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? You're going to believe. You're going to believe. That's what you're going to do. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast is, again, red. And the beast which thou sawest was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. My take on the beast that was, and is not, and yet is, if you think of the sun, yesterday the sun was, And when the night came, it is not. And then the morning comes, and yet it is. All right? That's how I always took as. And the beast is actually representing a God that people on earth accept and have worshipped throughout history. The God of the sun, okay? The light of the world. Japan is one of the members of the blasphemy seven heads. When they become when they're entered into the United Nations Security Council, when they're entered in, they have the name the land of the sun. All right, the light of the world, where men get their life from. But Jesus is the light of the world, and he is the life of the men. He is the light. He is their light. It's a different light. It's not the same light. It's a different light, but it's the light of men and the life of men. So this was this is the parallel here that I see when he's described like this, who was and is not and yet is. And here is the mind that has wisdom. The seven heads are seven mountains on which the woman sits. Okay, that again, that's not the seven hills of Rome. Okay, because they are seven kings. Five are fallen, one is, and the other is not yet come. It's not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue a short space. I've gone over this before in the past, but I'll just briefly go over it. The seven kings, five are fallen. So it starts with Egypt. These are empires that ruled over Israel in the past. Okay? The empires that rule over Israel are these seven kings. Five are fallen. So you have Pharaoh, you have Assyria, the king of Assyria, and you have Babylon, and Mede-Persia, and Greece. Those are the five. And one is, at the time he's writing this, Rome was the empire over Israel. And one is. And the other is not yet come, and when he comes, he must continue a short space. He only has, the last empire is going to be the United Nations with seven heads in the Security Council, and they're going to have 10 horns. The earth is going to be divided into 10 pieces, and each of those 10 pieces has a king over them. And we're going to have the mouth of the Security Council, who's going to be the man, Antichrist, the man. I think it's King Charles. I've said that before, and I have reasons for it. Okay? So anyway, they only have 42 months of reign. That United Nations beast only has basically the first 3.5 years. And then they don't have any power, and there's another month before the blaspheme of abomination of desolation, which causes an extreme amount of horror going on to the earth. This is when Jesus starts to say, those that are in Judea, if you're on the rooftop, don't go into the house, just go. Just go down onto the earth and run. And pray that it's not a Sabbath. You see that? Pray that it's not a Sabbath? We're still gonna be obeying the law. We're gonna be almost gonna be normal. I mean, right now, Israel is fighting, and they fight on the Sabbath day. This is not even normal now. But could you imagine that they're gonna, he says, pray that it's not in the Sabbath? He's saying a lot there when he says that. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth, and is of the seventh, and goes into perdition. So the beast has 7 heads because there's 7 empires he carries, but it's actually Satan himself. So, and he's actually the 8th. When Satan is loosed after the 1,000 years, that's when he comes up, and he doesn't have a head. He doesn't have an empire. There's nothing. He's just him, and that's all. And he goes out and he coerces men to come again. He performs the second battle of Armageddon. There's another one. There's 2. One, Gog and Magog, and the second one is Satan and everybody that Gog and Magog and the false prophet have called in the past. Everybody else is going to come and circle around, and they're going to be in the area of Har Megiddo, and it's just going to be another duplicate. And when Jesus came back, he harvested and slayed Gog and Magog. All right, and the 1,000 years were going on, and when the 1,000 years are up, he's going to do it again. That's the way it's written. I didn't make it up. Okay, this is Revelation 17:12-18. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as king 1 hour with the beast. This is the beast that's in the United Nations beast. Okay? And so these are 10 kings. These are the 10 horns, and there's a crown on each horn. There's a king in each one of these things. The earth is divided into 10 pieces. And these have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. Okay, so they go along with every agenda piece that the United Nations puts out. They go along with it. And they shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sits, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. Okay? This is what I want to point out. They hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And this is the verse that prompted me to think about what's going on here. Why are they eat? What do you mean they shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire? First of all, they hate a whore. Okay? And if the whore is desolate and naked, she's not desirable. And they eat her flesh. If the whore has no flesh, she's not desirable. And why they hate her is another reason, and I'll get into that a little after this. They'll eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Now, why are they burning her with fire? I think that burning her with fire, number one, they're doing away with her flesh, and they want her to not have anything. They hate her. They don't want her to have anything. And we're going to go over what she does have if they didn't do this. But why are they burning her with fire? And I think they're burning her with fire is because these guys are kings, and her role was always to fornicate with the kings of the earth. And what does she give? She gives, and I'll let you know, she gives pleasure. She gives harlots. She has she herself fornicates with the kings. She gets she receives payment from the kings who buy her goods, who help her trade. She needs trade. Okay? And on top of that, all trade is going to be confined within each of the 10 regions. In other words, you can trade within your region, but you can't trade from one region to another like we do now. That's just happening. Merchants are crying in 1 hour. All of a sudden, the trade was shut down to nothing. Anyway, it's God Himself that's putting into their hearts, into these 10 men's hearts, to fulfill His will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Say she's got delicacies. She's got wine. She fornicates. She's got all pleasures. She's a harlot. And this is a very important verse next. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. See, remember, she was between heaven and earth. She was somewhere in the middle, and now her sins have reached all the way up to the top, to heaven. Reward her as she rewarded you. Double, this is now, know you not that you shall judge angels, is coming to pass right here. Because she is a fallen angel. She's an angel. She's not a person. She's not a city. She's an angel that represents a city. A city that has all protections, and has cops, has hospitals, has trade, it has economy, all of the things that you have in a city. She has in all of her cities, in all of her cities that are models of her city. The whole earth, she sits upon all the waters. She sits upon all the earth. She's not one city. Reward her as she rewarded you. How did she reward you? You were a man of God, and you were persecuted. You were not only you were a prophet of God, and you were killed. You were just an ordinary citizen, and you were killed in the wars. Killed with sword. You were killed. You were dead. And double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she has filled to her double. How much she has glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she says in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and I shall see no sorrow. Okay? Now she sits as a queen, and am no widow. So she has a husband, because she always was the wife of the king of the seven empires of the beast that she rides upon. She's always the wife of that emperor. And this particular one, has no regard for the love of women. And when I said I was going to get back to it, that's what I mean. And she is basically representing a woman that thinks she's still a queen and she's not a widow because he already died. He died in the middle of the 7 years. This is the end. She's judged at the end. She's judged in the seventh vial of wrath. I am no widow, and I shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judges her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Now, what's the 1 hour? And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buys their merchandise any more. They don't buy the merchandise of the merchants. The merchandise of gold and silver, precious stones, pearls, fine linen, purple, silk, scarlet, all fine wood, and all manner vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of most precious wood, and of brass, and iron, and marble, and synonym of odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men. See that? Slaves. She's the slave trade. She is head of that slave trade. And the souls of men. The souls of men. All of the warfare. And we're going to get to how bad it is that she does. The souls of men. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee. And all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee. He's talking to Mr. and Woman Babylon right now. And thou shalt find them no more at all. Now the merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. And every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust upon their heads, and they cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by the reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God has avenged you on her. See, this is who she was hurting. Heaven, the apostles, the prophets, and men of God. A mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of the harpers and the musicians and the pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. No craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found no more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall shall be heard no more at all in thee, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Sorceries has to do with drugs. Drug. They drug us out and deceive us. And in her was found the blood of the prophets. See, this is what I'm saying. And in her was found the blood of the prophets and of the saints and of all that was slain upon the earth. So every war that ever happened, all of the thousands and thousands and thousands that died in the war, was slain upon the earth, and that blood that was in them was found in her. The blood of the prophets, from Abel all the way to Zechariah, that blood is going against the Pharisees that wanted Jesus instead of Barabbas. Jesus did nothing wrong. They wanted Barabbas, who was a murderer. They wanted him to be set free. Those guys, they were forgiven for what they did to Jesus. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. He said that. He meant it. They're not going to be held liable for his blood, but they're going to be held liable for everybody from Abel, because that's what I'm saying. She was there causing Cain to hate his brother. And Jesus said hating is just like killing. He that hates his brother is also a murderer. Anyway, so she caused him to hate, and he killed his brother. Okay, to help wrap things up, I do want to note the 1 hour. The 1 hour that the merchants are complaining, they're crying that everything was destroyed in 1 hour. This whole city was destroyed in 1 hour. It's also 1 hour is on against Babylon. The hour destruction of Babylon is also noted with the fact that the 10 kings burn her flesh 1 hour with the beast. There are 2 significant hours within the last 7 years that cause a lot of destruction. 2 very significant hours, and I'm going to tell you that I think that hour is the first one I'm thinking about, which is the hour that Antichrist, the man, blasphemes and calls himself God. When he blasphemes and calls himself God, in that hour that he does that, it causes the worst destruction that the world would ever see, and it's so bad that time had to be shortened. Otherwise, no flesh would be saved. For the elect's sake, time is shortened. And that's described as there was nothing that bad for the whole world. The whole world never saw anything as bad as that before it, and there'll never be anything as bad as that after it. So this is what I'm thinking that this is the hour that is destructive for Mystery Woman Babylon, and her city is taken from her. We can still buy or sell, with the mark. I think the mark is still going to be a temptation the rest of the second half of the 7 years. And the other one would be the sixth trumpet has 4 different time frames of wars. One's a year, one's a month, one's a day, and one is an hour. 1/3 of all of the people on earth die within the sixth trumpet. So that's another very, very devastating time, a very devastating hour. And thankfully, the seventh trumpet comes right after that, and then it's all over. But so those are the 2 hours that would make sense of when in the timeline when Mystery Woman Babylon loses it all. Okay? Okay. So the takeaway verse that I want you all to take away from this is Revelation 18:4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues." So she's going to be judged. You don't want to be judged with her. You want to be separated from her. You want to come out of her. And the name church means called out ones. And we are called out of this sinful world that she rules over. Adds the pleasures. It's hard to get out of it. We're always being tempted if we lived in her, and we want to go back to her. If we want to go back to her, that's apostasy. We want to be called out of her, and we want to stay called out of her, and we don't want any part of her sins. She's going to be judged, and her citizens, like her Pharisees are her citizens, are going to be judged right along with her. Okay, that's the takeaway. Shalom, everybody. Jesus loves you.